Hi, I'm Barra, and in today's video I wanted to share my favorite book with you. And that honor belongs to the book Men's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. So in this video I wanted to do two things. First, I want to explain what this book is about in case you haven't read it. And secondly, I want to share my key takeaways from the book and why I think it's so awesome. So let's jump right in. So, Men's Search for Meaning was written by Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. And it's about his experiences as a prisoner in a concentration camp. So Viktor Frankl was Jewish and lived during the Nazi time. And he actually had the chance to leave to the US because of his professional achievements, and then decided to stay because he didn't want his parents to go through it alone. And the book originally was published in German, and we could translate that title as Saying Yes to Life Despite It All, a psychologist experiences a concentration camp. I actually like that title more, because it just seems a bit, well, it's the original, right? It's not the translated version, and it seems more inclusive, and like it describes better what the book really is about. It's really about saying yes to life despite it all. And the book, actually, according to a survey conducted by the Library of Congress, is one of the 10 most influential books in the US. So that's a bit what the book is about. I guess one last thing is that I think Frankl originally intended for it to be published anonymously, and I think then somebody brought up that it would be better, more powerful to have a name associated with it. So it's really interesting that the most impactful book that Frankl published during his life was one that he never intended to have published under his own name. So with that being said, let's move on to why I think this book is so awesome. So first of all, it's a very unique book, right? Because Frankl is trying to do two things. He's describing what it's like to be in a concentration camp while also looking at it through his professional eyes as a psychiatrist. What does it do to people to be in that situation? What's sort of like the stuff that happens? So it's incredibly insightful. More importantly, I love it for the message that it brings. So Viktor Frankl is the founder of logotherapy, which is all about the importance of meaning in our human life. And you probably know like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where kind of like physical survival stuff is at the bottom and blah, 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 and then eventually you could get up to self-actualization. And this is different, like according to Frankl, the main human need, or like one of the most important human needs we all have, is the need for meaning. And I actually think that's so true, because even in really dire situations, and it doesn't have, to be a concentration camp, it can be people suffering from terminal illnesses. Meaning is so important to us. And Frankl really draws attention to that, and that's part of why I really love that book. And while I was going through the book, I noticed myself, I basically wanted to highlight pretty much every second sentence or so. That's how many gems were in there. And his take that he explains in there is basically that there are three main ways in which people can find meaning. And that is through work, through love, or relationships in general, it doesn't have to be a romantic love, just our connections to others. And lastly, through our attitude in the face of inescapable suffering, which goes back to the situation Frankl found himself in, or the situation that people find themselves in if they are dealing, with illnesses and can't find a solution to that. And I think, I love that he's not talking from theory, he's talking from his own lived experience. And I think that's so important. And what he's sharing actually has influenced my own work quite a bit, because I think meaningful work is really important, and it can be one of the ways that we can most contribute to the world. But for so many people, work, doesn't really feel meaningful at all. And actually, Frankl gives an example of how meaningful work can make a difference in life. And he shares an episode in the book, I believe, where he was really ill. And part of what pulled him through was his desire to finish a manuscript that he had started. So I think sometimes having a clear sense of purpose in life can really pull us forward through situations that we otherwise would have a really tough time getting through. So yeah, like one of my takeaways was that there are the 3 ways of meaning, and that I think in our culture, we could really use more meaningful work. That's one of the underutilized pathways to meaning. So if this interests you, I invite you to check out the next video where I share a bit about my story and how I got to where I am, where I, care about helping others with meaningful work, and what my own journey to that was. So I hope this was interesting to you. If you haven't read the book, I really recommend you check it out, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.